So lesson 4 focuses on using dynamic language. In everything we write, we're going to use concise language, active language. We can use problem, action, result stories, and plain English. So in our reports, proposals, and procedures, we're going to use concise language. Let's start there. Let's start by using one word for a one-word idea. So as we look for our report and look for ways to make sure that it's as clear and concise and frankly as short as it can be, we're going to use every strategy that we have at our disposal. So clear and careful planning, focusing only on the reader's interests and needs, eliminating unnecessary ideas and thoughts, information, all of those will help on the planning level. And now we're on the sentence level, so we're also going to work on tightening up our language and making it appealing and engaging. So one strategy is to eliminate unnecessary words. So oftentimes we see, at a time prior to, which can easily become before. Or in an example here, we're in agreement with you about the contract terms. Instead, we agree with you about the contract terms. So in agreement becomes agree. It becomes shorter. It moves more quickly. Another original, she solved the problem in a clever way. Instead, she solved the problem cleverly, or she cleverly solved the problem. So using one word for a one-word idea helps us avoid repetition. Okay, so oftentimes we'll see entire either words, sentences, paragraphs, lots of unnecessary words on the page. These are some more examples of repetitive words. So we'll see alternative choices, right? An alternative is already a choice. A basic, fundamental, and basic really right the same thing. Serious, crisis, a crisis is already quite serious. An outcome comes at the end, it's already final. And so on and so forth. Do remember that there are opportunities to avoid the extra words to get rid of them. So eliminate wasteful possessives, clauses, and there is phrases. So again, our suggestion is we can change that to we suggest. So the assumption is that the company should always come first. Instead, they assume. We like to also call these frozen verbs. Make the verbs do the work. They assume instead. Okay? So another example, eliminating wasteful clauses. The broker who works in Chicago sent the file that is incomplete to the home office. So we could revise that to become the Chicago broker sent the incomplete file to the home office. And again, eliminating wasteful there is phrases. So there is a new package on your desk. Instead, a new package is on your desk. Or there may be several applicants who have the necessary background for this position. Instead, several applicants may have the necessary background for this position. Okay, so active language is another really important way, a great strategy to bring your writing to life. The opposite of active language is passive language. Okay, so often organizations and a lot of technical people will use a lot of passive language. And your organization may use it even more, or your subgroup or your department may use a lot of passive language, and that may be sort of culturally appropriate, and that's fine. I'm here today to show you the difference between active and passive language so that you can make an informed decision about which one you're going to use and when. So let me show you some examples here. Passive language looks like this. The project was managed by John. So why is that passive? It's passive because there is an actor, but the actor comes after the action. So the action is was managed. John is the actor. Now we're going to change that to active language, both by identifying the actor, John, and then having the actor come first. So John managed the project. So that is active language. Another example, in passive language, a safety plan was prepared and distributed to the employee by the committee. Instead, the committee prepared a safety plan and distributed it to employees. Or, where it becomes very important is in directions or procedures, which is one of the reasons we've included this content, because when you are writing a procedure, it's most important to use active language. So passive reads like this: the water should be measured every 35 minutes. Now, it's not at all clear who should measure the water every 35 minutes. In active voice, the actor's defined and comes first. The technician should measure the water every 35 minutes. Or there might be an implied you. You should measure the water every 35 minutes. You can drop the you, measure the water every 30 minutes. And if that proposed procedure was given to me, I would know that I'm the one, I'm the actor in this scenario. Now, oftentimes people use passive language so that there's no blame or responsibility associated, and they either do it knowingly or unknowingly. So another example might be that the fire was started last night, and you don't want to blame any individual for starting the fire. Just do it knowingly and not unknowingly when you skirt responsibility or ownership of an action. You're doing that by using passive language. It also tends to add clutter to your writing. So active language oftentimes will allow you to convey even more information in fewer words. So another strategy to make your writing more dynamic, again, especially with proposals, procedures, and multi-section reports, is to use a strategy that we call problem, action, result stories to pitch your services. So we're going to cover that, as well as plain English, which is another strategy to help readers follow your main point. Let's start here with plain English. How many of you would find this engaging or dynamic? Per your request, enclosed herewith are documents concerning the above-mentioned project. At this point, as a reader, I'm probably lost. I've moved on to something else that I find more engaging or dynamic. So plain English would help in this case. Instead, this writer has chosen to use inflated, or what we call pompous language, sometimes also called legalese. We want to use plain English. Instead, as you asked, I'm sending a description of the Acme project. Please read the description and send it back to me before January 15th. We will then begin the system modifications. Now, oftentimes, especially for technical people in technical reports, they would like to use the appropriate term. And absolutely, we should use the appropriate terms for complex or technical topics. However, there are ways to convey them so that anyone can understand them. When we work on writing projects for the C-suite in large companies, we are constantly offering counsel to the folks writing to those decision makers to make sure that all information can be easily digested. And folks in the C-suite generally have a range of technical knowledge and experience, but communicating in plain English will help them understand any concept, albeit extremely technical. So there's another activity that you can download in the workbook that you can find called $1 Million Language. It's on page 91, and it will help you streamline your language by using dynamic, engaging language to engage your readers in your content. Now let me talk to you about this strategy that we use called problem, action, result. A PAR story is a simple chronological format that anyone can write. You can write a PAR story to describe your individual work or the work of your team or your entire organization. PAR format makes it clear how your work matters and what kinds of benefits you deliver. The storytelling technique that I'm going to walk through will help you make these benefits clear to readers in a variety of documents. Maybe you're writing the About Us section of your website, or a proposal that could win new work if it's persuasive. PAR stories are equally useful in all different kinds of documents. So let's look at an example here. The PAR format gives your readers a chronological structure. So a problematic beginning, a dynamic middle, and a result. And so the problem might be that we missed a deadline last quarter because our emails weren't clear. The action is that you coached your team members on ways to highlight their most important ideas. And the result was that team members said that internal email became much easier to read. And we also met our deadline easily. Now you can see how this problem action result narrative technique can be incredibly powerful in a proposal by explaining the problem that presented, the action that you took, and the results that you achieved. You can also use it to add some drama to descriptions of your work because it starts with an undesirable situation. Then it shows how you actively improved the situation, and it also shows the successful results that you delivered. So remember that P, right, so PAR story is the problem. So you're automatically showing your reader how you were able to solve problems. And it also tells a success story where you're a professional, maybe even a hero, even if your professional heroics are somewhat modest. So maybe you saved everyone 30 minutes, or the client thanked me afterward. Let's look at some more examples here. Is this boring or engaging? In resumes and proposals, too many business people limit themselves to describing the titles they've had or the duties they were assigned, but lists of titles and duties are boring. And so to add some engagement or to engage our reader, we want to find a way to we can use the PAR technique to engage them. So I have worked as a project manager and senior project manager. I help design teams take on complex projects with significant constructability challenges. I work with owners, engineers, and contractors to ensure success every time. So what this person is telling us is that they managed to do the things on their list, but it doesn't tell us why we should work with this person in the future or what kind of problems they've solved. So here's a full revised PAR story that explains how this writer's project management has delivered successful results. So I help design teams tackle complex projects with significant constructability challenges. One of my projects featured a last-minute revision to the foundation. I worked with the owners, engineers, and contractors to continue construction in the 2 stories above that incomplete foundation, helping the project on time, keeping the project on time. I always work overtime to offer innovative problem solving and successful results to all our clients. So this was innovative work, and the beneficial result is that the project was on time. So the PAR story goes beyond the vague word success by spelling out how the individual writer solved the problem. So maybe, again, it's not so dramatic as this one. Maybe simply a client was dissatisfied, or a big task needed to be done right, or it was time for something new. But before we move on to PAR stories for teams, let's look at a PAR story for a more modest problem. The problem here, several customers asked if I could offer more ice cream with savory ingredients. The action, I experimented for days until I hit on a new combination of citrus and basil, and the result was that it became our most popular new flavor. Again, this story starts with a simple problem the writer was faced with. It sets out the action, and it makes clear how that action helped his clients. Again, the connection here is with the proposals or the persuasive writing challenges that you're going to tackle. So we just looked at PAR stories for individuals, but the format is easy to apply to teams. So if you're writing a proposal, this narrative technique will help you explain just how the proposal work will benefit a client. For instance, or for an internal team or internal decision maker as well. So for instance, you can use a PAR story to demonstrate how you helped a similar decision maker in the past, and then describing that past success can equal proof that you have that skill in the future. So again, another example, imagine that this was part of a single-page cover letter for a long proposal. We're ready to help Your shopping center attracts hundreds of thousands of new customers. We understand that many visitors consider the current atmosphere somewhat uninviting. So there we are with the problem. Now we're going to move on to suggested actions. We'll take the following steps to brighten up the atmosphere: create wide open malls, plant live plants, filter natural light, and then the rest of it, and then we end with the beneficial results that the writers anticipate. So our pre-development research indicates that up to 500,000 customers will visit the mall per month. These design features will establish an inviting atmosphere and help them feel welcome. So let's take a look at this revision that starts with the actions and ends with the problem. So it's not as effective, right? We'll take the following steps to improve your shopping mall. So then we list the actions, and then we end here with the text that doesn't end on a hopeful note. So again, this PAR chronology is a much safer model to follow if you're looking for a narrative technique especially in a proposal, to show the value that you can bring or your team can bring to a project. Again, we want to start with the problem, explain how you're ready to jump into action, and then end with results that will make the reader happy. PAR stories are helpful, but they also help with other kinds of documents, maybe a job description, a resume list, a cover letter. You can add any of the first-person PAR stories to a job application again, or even an email that you're writing where you're showing how you can solve problems. So here's another example. Dear Mr. Lee, we understand that your bank finds it difficult to process ACH payments. Our team can make these payments easy. Okay, here's our problem. Now we're going to talk about the action. We can modify account number formats, and we can consult with you to send in more test files. We always make sure we understand our clients' unique processing needs. And then again, we're talking about the results. We also confirm that our new systems work and will make necessary amendments beforehand so that you can experience a stress-free process. Okay, again, PAR story is a model for your narrative. So to bring it all together, we talked again about outlining a long document, focusing on your reader, their questions, and using the answers to their questions to help you create an outline for your document. Once you have that outline, you can draft your document using summary statements, using headings, and then finally making sure that your language is dynamic by avoiding repetition, by using active language, and by using a PAR story technique when appropriate to bring your writing to life and show value. So more activities and exercises are inside the workbook, reports, proposals, and procedures. Good luck with your next multi-section document, proposal, and procedure. Thank you.